And I was thinking about. John Cannell told me he insisted on speaking like Woodward. We need to spend some time. Testing. Testing.
That's why. Yeah. Will you help me with something? Please don't let me leave my sunglasses here. But you can. Oh yeah, that's fine. No, it's fine. I don't want to. I think I'm gonna have to.
Everyone, if I could have your attention for just one moment. If you
Good morning. I am very pleased to welcome each of you to this special ceremonial session of the North Carolina Court of Appeals, in which we honor the service on this court of Judge and Chief Judge John Martin. The tradition of presentation of portraits of former chief judges of this court goes back to the beginning of the court. The court was established in 1967, and the first chief judge, Raymond Mallard, served as chief until 1973. His portrait was presented to this court in 1981. It's behind me, behind the bench here on my left and on your right, and the portraits continue around the courtroom in chronological order. We are honored to continue this tradition with the addition of the portrait of our court's 8th Chief Judge, John Martin. The ceremony and presentation allows us to remember an important part of our history and to honor the service of a valued member of our court. I extend a special welcome to our former Chief Judge John Martin, his wife Margaret, their children and grandchildren, many of whom are here, and as we accept the gracious donation of the portrait of Chief Judge John Martin. We are also pleased to welcome many current and former justices and judges here today with us, including many who served with Chief Judge Martin here at the court. From our Supreme Court, I welcome Justice Trey Allen III, our former Chief Justice, Sarah Parker, former Justices Patricia Timmons Goodson, Robin Hudson, and Sam Ervin IV. From the Court of Appeals, our former Chief Judge Linda McGee, former Chief Judges of the court, our former judges from the court, we have several, John Lewis, Ralph Walker, Wanda Bryant, Richard Elmore, Sanford Steelman, Alan Thornburg, Linda Stevens, and Robert Hunter. I also welcome our former Clerk of the Court of Appeals, Dan Horn, And I want to especially welcome some other judges who started out their legal careers as research assistants for Judge Martin, District Court Judge Christy Wilhelm and Tamara Ashford, Judge of the United States Tax Court. On behalf of the court and Chief Judge Martin and his family, John Cannell's here as well. Oh, yes, don't worry, I'll get to him. And she was just pointing out I hadn't welcomed John Cannell, our former clerk, but we will be welcoming him very specially soon, since he will be speaking. So thank all of you for being here to mark this special occasion. We also welcome everyone joining us today virtually on YouTube. It's an honor to have everyone with us to celebrate today. Chief Judge John Martin has invited two very well-qualified people to speak on his behalf. And I will first recognize our former Clerk of the Court of Appeals, John Cannell, to speak. Mr. Cannell first came to the Court of Appeals as an assistant clerk in 1986, and he began serving as clerk in 1993 until his retirement in 2015. So with nearly 30 years of service to this court, including all of Judge Martin's years on the court, he is very well qualified to speak on this occasion. Mr. Cannell.
Chief Judge Stroud, Associate Judges, Mr. Clerk, distinguished guests, we are gathered to honor one of the state's finest judges. It's a privilege and an honor to be here today in the court where I spent my entire professional career on behalf of a man who I admire as much as anyone I've ever known
Thank you so much, Mr. Cannell. We are also fortunate to have Chief Judge Martin's friend and a former president of the North Carolina Bar Association, John Wester of Robinson, Bradshaw, and Henson, here to make remarks.
Madam Chief Judge, Associate Judges, may it please the court. A review of the life and career of Chief Judge John Martin, even at the high altitude that John Cannell shares this morning, moves me for the depth of his abiding commitment to serving our profession and our state. As I take in the room this morning, I consider the millions of North Carolina citizens who have never and will never enter this building, and yet who are the direct beneficiaries of John Martin's service to our state in this building and beyond. Today I learned with you that in his 7 years on the trial bench, Chief Justice, appointed by the Chief Justice branch to do so, he traveled to more than half of our state's counties to hold court in those counties. That gives special meaning to the phrase, "This fellow was doing so much, so well out in the fields." I was gratified to learn with you that when John Martin became Chief Judge of this court, he turned first to securing better wages for the print shop staff and the deputy clerks. It is his second nature to recognize those who are essential to assuring the wheels of justice are turning and assuring fair treatment to those who turn them. My first crossing Judge Martin's path away from arguments in this room was our service together for the North Carolina Bar Association on its Committee for Judicial Independence. From the beginning of our time together, I took in his conviction that our founding fathers put judicial independence in the center of their vision for a new democracy. Judge Martin holds and has lived the conviction that an independent judiciary is not on automatic pilot, especially in a state where we elect judges, and especially when we do so on partisan ballots. Central to judicial independence is the command of constant vigilance to protect it. John Martin has lived that vigilance. I've heard from more than one judge whom he counseled with this advice, a paraphrase to be sure. Yes, you belong to a political party, so do I, but you must leave behind your political ties as you hear every case. We are bound by our oath and by our conscience to decide every case, every single case, without fear or favor. Judge Martin put his example of judicial independence behind what he asked of every judge with whom he served. As I reflect on his service and our honoring him today, the sentiment that returns to me most often is one of thanksgiving. However fine his portrait, and all of us are grateful for it, when we think of him, however far away we are from seeing his face, we can hold on to our thanksgiving for him. Dean Martin Brinkley and today John Cannell brought to mind the inscription that Sir Christopher Wren suggested for the entablature remembering all he had designed. I presume just enough to call on another Englishman, William Shakespeare, for an adaptation of his address that Henry V made to his forces at Agincourt in 1415, just before the momentous battle in the 100 Years' War. From this day to the ending of our days, but we in it shall remember. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers and sisters. For he and she who join with me on John Martin Dedication Day will be my brother and sister. Be we ne'er so burdened, this day will gentle our condition, and friends and loved ones far away shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and count on us for memories dear, our cherished memories of John Martin Dedication Day. Madam Chief Judge, Associate Judges, and the Martin family, thank you for this high honor. May God bless you and all of us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wester, for your perspective on this historic occasion. And I'm now delighted to ask Margaret Martin to come up to perform the unveiling of the portrait, and Clerk Soar, if you would come over to assist. Thank you. Chief Judge Martin, on behalf of the court and in accord with the resolution adopted by this court, we accept your gift with gratitude. We will be proud to display it in our courtroom. As you can see, we have a blank spot on our wall over here, ready to display this gift. Before we close, I'd like to share a few thoughts as well regarding Chief Judge Martin. In May of 2013, after I had served on this court for about 6 years with John Martin as my Chief Judge, I was attending the LLM program for Judicial Studies at Duke Law School, and they asked some of us in the program to write articles about judges they admired for a series called The Storied Third Bench. I did an article about Chief Judge Martin, and I believe it's appropriate for me to share just a little bit of that today as we honor him. I will not read the whole thing, but I would like to highlight some portions. I began my article by noting Judge Martin's background and experience and many contributions to judicial education and public service. You've already heard about these today, so I'm not going to repeat that part. I then addressed some of his work in improving this court. I wrote, as Chief Judge, Judge Martin has been instrumental in improving the court in nearly every way. The court's physical workplace has been improved by his oversight of the complete renovation of the 1913 Court of Appeals building, coordinating the work of architects, construction experts, and the State Construction Office, a process which took many years and has resulted in a building which retains its historical grandeur but provides a modern and efficient workplace. But the less tangible work which he has done in the Court of Appeals building is even more impressive. Judge Martin has indeed earned the respect and admiration of all of us on the Court of Appeals, and has, by his leadership, administrative skills, encouragement, and sometimes a bit of nagging, increased both the collegiality and productivity of this court to a very high level. You need not take just my admittedly biased word as to Judge Martin's accomplishments as Chief Judge. I would offer as evidence an article published in the Journal of Appellate Practice and Process entitled Seeking Best Practices Among Intermediate Appellate Courts of Appeal, a Nascent Journey, and that was published in spring of 2007. This article compares the procedures, efficiency, and productivity of the intermediate appellate courts of 13 states with similar court structures, and finds that North Carolina is one of the most efficient and productive intermediate appellate courts in the country, despite ranking close to the bottom in judicial salaries. The analysis was based on information from 2005, and I believe the statistics have only improved since then. I then discussed some of the potential factors which may have contributed to our court's high rankings in efficiency and productivity as compared to the other intermediate appellate courts. And then I continued with some thoughts on our court's productivity, and I will note that some portions of this are quotes from the article in the Journal of Appellate Practice and Process, but I will spare you the citations in this particular venue. So I wrote, I would argue that the answer to the question of what drives our productivity can be found in the collegiality and professionalism which Judge Martin models and inspires. So just how does the stability, civility, and relationships among the judges of a court impact court performance? A collegial court has been defined as one in which judges have a common interest as members of the judiciary in getting the law right, and as a result, they are willing to listen, persuade, and be persuaded, all in an atmosphere of civility and respect. Collegiality is a process that helps create the conditions for principled agreement by allowing all points of view to be aired and considered. Most fundamentally, work on the appellate bench is a group process. A stable court with strong leadership and individual judges who subscribe to the institutional mission of the judiciary, getting the law right, can achieve collegiality and high-quality productivity. Thus, a court culture that values productivity and efficiency while giving its members collegiality with each other and active deliberation might tip the balance in favor of higher court performance. In my opinion, the answer to the question of how the North Carolina Court of Appeals has achieved such a high level of efficiency, productivity, and collegiality is the court culture which Chief Judge Martin has in large part created. No statistical analysis is capable of quantifying his influence, but as associate judges on the Court of Appeals, we see it every day. Although most of the citizens of North Carolina may not know who Judge Martin is or even what a Court of Appeals does, all the citizens who have dealt with our legal system have, in ways large and small, benefited from Judge Martin's many contributions. Those were my comments in 2013, and they are certainly still true today. And now, back to the present. I certainly had no idea in 2013 when I wrote this article I would have the honor of presiding at a portrait presentation for Judge Martin, but I'm so glad we've had the opportunity to have this presentation today. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to thank Judge Martin for his service to the court and to the state of North Carolina, and on a personal note, for helping me so much in so many ways in my work as an appellate judge. Now, we always allow both sides to be heard in this courtroom. So, Chief Judge Martin, if you have any comments or rebuttal to our speakers today, I welcome your comments at this time if you wish.
I've debated with myself for a while about whether I would take up your opportunity for rebuttal. This will not be rebuttal, but in my view, the two most important words in the English language are thank you. And I want to thank you, Judge Stroud, and John Connell and John Wester for your very generous remarks. I want to thank the court for having the ceremony today. Thank Jonathan Harris and Clerk Jean Soar for all of their work in putting this together. It has been a wonderful experience, and I appreciate it very much. I also want to thank my family and my friends for having supported my career. It has been a wonderful career, and I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to serve in the ways that I have, and particularly as the Chief Judge of this court. And finally, I want to thank all of you, former clerks, friends, former colleagues, for being here today. I know it was an effort for many of you to get here, but I can't express enough how grateful I am. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Judge Martin, for your comments. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. Also, thanks to all of the clerks and staff of this court who have worked to put on this ceremony. It has been an honor for us to do it and a great pleasure for us to do it. Now, after we adjourn this session of court, you're all invited to take a closer look at our new portrait, if you wish. And I hope that you will join us for a reception in the gallery just outside the courtroom. So, Mr. Soar, if you would adjourn.
All rise. This ceremonial session of the North Carolina Court of Appeals is adjourned. For everyone still viewing online, I just wanted to let you know that we will be ending the live stream shortly. Take care.